In celebrating ANN7's 4th year anniversary, we have the honor of speaking to the First Lady, Thobeka Madiba Zuma. Join me, Natasha Piri, as she speaks on various issues of women empowerment on her foundation that focuses on women with cancer and her well wishes for the channel. Come, let's go inside. Mama, thank you so much for joining us on ANN7. Truly is an honor and a privilege to have you on our show. As you know, that the channel has turned 4 years old this year. This also coincides with Women's Month. And as you know, that the class of 1956 fought against the social injustices of those days, the apartheid, passed laws, you know, and this year, fast track to 61 years later, we have women like you, yourself, and others who are fighting against social injustices of gender-based violence, cancer through your Cancer Foundation. But as much as the government, as much as NGOs, as much as women like you have been fighting those social injustices and ills, we still see a spike in gender-based violence against women. We have cases like your Karabos, you have your Jams, and unfortunately the recent assault of Mandisa Duma, a Cubana. What do you think, in your opinion, can be done to deal with such pertinent issues?
I think for me, we need to ask ourselves why. What are the real reasons that would really drive one to commit such gruesome acts of killing what a person they loved, once loved, not only stopping there, but also burning the body. For whatever reason. But I think for me, we need professionals to come to the party to assist us to understand what goes through the mind of that person. So post-trial and everything else, they need to assist us to analyze, assess. And I think for me, you know, in that way, it will help us because we need to move from an informed point of view in order to address these problems or prevent them from happening. Because if we continue to be reactive, we'll just be addressing them topically. We can't be talking to grown-up men when they're really broken men, when their upbringing was so abusive to a point that they are carrying so much anger to manhood. And when they get to manhood, all they want to do is they vent out this anger, you know, and it shows in ugly ways that we see today. And we therefore, I think, would be halfway towards solving the problem once we move from an informed point of view. We cannot allow it to continue at the rates and, you know, as I said, seeking to undermine all the good work that has been done. And I think if we all feel the responsibility within ourselves to say, I have the power to be part of the solution and be part of the change I want to see in my community, in my small way, and then incrementally that will translate into something big whereby as a country we'll all be conscious about what's happening in our environments. I gave you an example of children growing up on their own. Can we both go back to what we're known for, Ubuntu, whereby your child is my child, whereby if children, my neighbor's children, they lose their parents to AIDS, to whatever else, that I adopt them and that they grow up under my care as a parent, as the father. And I think also another challenge that we're faced with is parenting. The quality of parenting is actually deteriorating. I think partly because we are working parents now, you know, we've got middle income a group or brackets that's working mothers and fathers. We cannot afford to transfer the responsibility of parenting to the teachers at school. We need to work together with the teachers. There is time for everything. Life is a balancing act. We cannot say just because I'm working, I cannot make time to see whether my child was at school, what did she do, who she hangs out with, the friends, the influence, everything else that's going on, staying connected with the school. Because if I'm disconnected, my child's gonna use that opportunity that I'm disconnected with the school. I don't know what is happening. Connect with the school, the governing body, participate. Let us be a force that will parent our kids to become the better people they can be, because right now we're dealing with so many broken, people out there, and men. I would hate to say men, but in the majority of cases we're seeing this whereby it's a man abusing a child, or a girl child or a woman or an elderly that cannot, fight back or fend for themselves.
Okay, and just off ramping to another issue, the poverty trends were released yesterday by the statistician.
I also find it difficult.
Statistician General Umapali Lhodla, and it still shows that a high proportion of females live beyond the poverty lines. Which is still sad. And what do you think we as women could do? Or you mentioned that, we can't only blame government only. NGOs need to come up to the plate. We as people of South Africa also need to come up to the plate. What do you think we need to do as a society to get rid of poverty within, our nation?
I think for me there are two important things that really come to my mind. One is economic transformation. The second one is social transformation. Economic transformation is ensuring that our women have got equal chances or opportunities to, access to credit, to becoming entrepreneurs, and really, if they are working people, that they're supported, that they succeed in those positions of influence, and social transformation, that they have access to housing. I think for me it revolves around empowerment of women and our girl children, ensuring that they have access to really become meaningful economic players in the growth of our economy. So I think that would address many of the problems, because even if they are marginalized and they're in the rural areas, because I work a lot with the women in the rural areas, can we have our government ensuring that they take agriculture to our women, which they're doing. But I think for me, my wish is to see it reaching all our women, the most marginalized in the rural setting, so that they don't have to come to the cities in order for them to make a living, that they're empowered with how they can make use of and take advantage of the resource they have, which is free of charge, and that is the land they have in their backyards, where they can be taught and empowered on how to plant vegetables. When they have access, how can they access the markets to sell the excess, so that they can generate their own income, that they can support, their families. And I think for me, those are the baby steps that we need towards ensuring that our women are empowered. Economic transformation, no apologies.
Okay. You've made a meaningful contribution to women through your foundation. Can you just tell us more about that? Also, you're quoted as saying that one of your biggest dreams is to build the state-of-the-art cancer center to service the continent. Just kindly tell the viewers more about that.
I think for me, because there's very limited access to cancer care and quality, because it's one thing to have access to cancer care, but is it quality? But also there are gaps that exist, which my foundation looks at and think, there are things that we take for granted. Like, for instance, for women in the rural areas, has been to the local clinic and told that, you need to go to now the academic hospital for biopsy. She's got no relative there, and she's going to be treated as an outpatient there. Where does she stay those 2 nights or 3 nights? How does she get there? Because the out-of-pocket costs, competing priorities at home, with children needing shoes for school, sanitary towels, whatever else you can think of, food on the table. How did she make a choice between going for biopsy? She'll probably think, no, this is nothing, maybe witchcraft. Let me stay here. Let me provide for my family the little I have. I'm not going to spend it traveling to the city. Assume she travels to the city for biopsy. Where does she stay? So my wish is for my foundation to actually have interim homes where those women can have a shelter, a safe shelter, where they can stay. They can be outpatients. Whether they're coming for chemo, for that matter, they now are starting their journey of chemotherapy, and they're treated. Maybe they go to the hospital for those 2 days, but the rest of the days they have to be outside the hospital. We're looking at the gaps that exist as my foundation, because we know so much work has been done. We don't want to reinvent the wheel or duplicate what has been done by our government, which is amazing, but there are still gaps that exist. So my foundation is really a national foundation. We go everywhere, educate, we advocate for our women and girls and children to have access to quality healthcare, to screening services so that they don't present late clinically, but also for treatment, care and support. Those are critical and those are very important, because I mean, for women, they tend to, and often you know that as well, they put themselves last on the list of priorities. And yet when they are gone, the void they leave behind is huge. I'm yet to come across a home that functions properly without a mother. And I think for me, it's time that those are visible, and in communities, you know, like myself, we use our position of influence and visibility to influence policy, to influence things in favor of our women, including to be their voice as well.
Wonderful things that your foundation is actually doing. And earlier on, I just alluded to the fact that ANN7 has turned 4 years old, and in celebrating our birthday, ANN7 took the opportunity to announce the new owner, a businessman, the leader of the Decolonialization Foundation. Excuse my pronunciation on that again.
Fine. It's our fourth language office.
And Ubab Manyi has now taken over ANN7. I mean, what is your reaction to the channel celebrating 4 years? It hasn't been an easy 4 years, might I tell you, but
absolutely. I think for me, my reaction was excitement to start off with, because I think ANN7 has been a channel that really reaches out to all corners of South Africa, bringing us content that is very exciting, real stories, and they've actually, I think ANN7 has kept its promise, the mandate of reporting objectively, and I must congratulate ANN7 for that as a channel. And you know, for me, it's always refreshing to watch the news and to watch what's happening. Although I strike a balance, but I'm really drawn to your content, and I would like to congratulate the channel for having, you know, for being still on its feet. I mean, I think when it was still a dream and a vision for the founders, they didn't think that they would last, you know, up until now. And it is exciting to see you guys celebrating the 4th year of existence, still going strong and stronger than ever, and still really, I think for me, giving us stories of that wouldn't have really heard of in the waves. And the change of ownership, I would like to also congratulate Mr. Jimmy Manyi, whom I know very well, who's been very vocal in the past couple of months or a year. And I wish him everything of the best, and the channel everything of the best, that you grow from strength to strength, you realize your vision, and we see you 10 years later still going strong.
Okay, let me just combine 2 questions in one. What do you take TNN ANN7 and the meaning of radical economic transformation, and perhaps maybe your message again, or to Ubab Manyi as well? And also, maybe what do you think the role of women should be in the new ownership, maybe, of the channel?
I think for me, I've always viewed the area of governance as that of we as women, we are capable as well, and I would like to see also women, you know, holding quite influential positions within ANN7, representing us and ensuring that you know, they're part of the journey. When it comes to the question of radical economic transformation, I've always seen the media as instrumental, as the platform to reach out to those that, you know, wouldn't have the opportunity to see what's happening around them. And it is something that as a country we need. I think, you know, having political power only and alone is dangerous. we need to strike a balance in ensuring that we don't only have the political power, but we also have the economic power. So as a country, we would like to see the resources being distributed in a way that is representative also of the population of South Africa, because the population of South Africa, we know the majority, and it's, for me, a bit of an odd picture whereby it's the other way around when it comes to who holds the economic power. And I would like to see that being addressed, and I see ANN7 being instrumental. I've seen your ad. There's one ad that says it talks to that, and I think I like it because it comes, I think, maybe during 7 o'clock at night as well as during the day. And I think for me, really, it serves as a reminder to say, and also it addresses many of the grey areas where one maybe had an inch of doubt as to what is happening. And what I would also like to congratulate ANN7 on is the people that your what do you call them, the political analysts.
Oh, okay.
Their views, their diverse views are really, I always find it very refreshing to listen to how they see things and how they really break down the subjects, at hand. And and all I wish in 7 is everything of the best.
Okay, Mama, just moving on to other issues. I mean, lately there's been mounting pressure from civil society, from alliance partners for the president to step down. We recently had a motion of no confidence, of which he survived for the 8th time. I mean, how has this all been for you at the back, supporting your husband?
I think for me it hasn't been challenging at all. I suppose it's because, one, I'm not a politician. I'm the spouse of the president, and my role is that of providing support. I believe in his leadership, and whatever else that has been going on in our country, for me, at the end of it all, it's basically what the majority wants. And also maybe understanding why there are these the challenges and trials that is going through. So I sort of like have an idea as to the why. So knowing very well why also, gives me a sense of comfort of not being affected by what's going on. And also, I think as a person, I'm one person who is able to create, a barrier that the external environment does not affect the internal environment where I am, and it doesn't affect me at all.
Okay, you've been very vocal about women. Do you think that the country is ready for a female president? We've been hearing the ANC Women's League, the ANC Youth League endorsing Dlamini Zuma. Do you think that she has a chance to actually take over the reins as the country's next president?
Sure, I wish I had bones that I can throw and say and predict the future as a country. If you're asking me about the state of readiness, I would say South Africa has come a long way. It has been an infant when it comes to democracy. It became a toddler, it became a teenager, and then we're now in adulthood of our democracy. And I think we're ready for anything and everything, including what you're asking me, whether it's ready for Mamkosazana or not. But that being said, I don't think for me the focus should be whether we now need a female president, whatever else, holding everything constant. I think we should do everything in the best interest of our country. It's if we can have the best leader to lead us to greater heights, to South Africa that will move from being a developing country to a developed country, holding the gender constant. And I think if she's the best candidate, why not? And if there's another best candidate, why not? We can't really say that our decision will be informed by gender. But if you're asking me whether or not, on the issue of governance, whether or not this country is ready, I think this country is ready for a female president as well.
Okay. And then, Ma'am Thobeka, allow me, if you will, again on the president, I'm so sorry to do this. I mean, in the Free State, he had talked about, the issue of being poisoned, At that time, when the president was poisoned, I mean, as you said, good to you, you're always supporting him, you're always behind him. What was going through your mind emotionally? How do you feel at that time? Guti, my husband is now poisoned. Is this the end of the road for him? What went through your mind?
I think for me, I like any other member of the family, when they take ill, it bothers you, whether it's a child that's taken ill. And I would want to say that at the time, I didn't know, of course, and I mean, he's broken his silence, and I think he's better placed really to even talk about the subject being a sensitive matter. But I think just like any wife would be, I was also as concerned, and all I was wishing for was the best. So I think he's broken his silence, and I think maybe it has made it easy for all of you to now maybe direct some questions to him. Maybe I'm not better placed.
Yeah. Okay, and then just lastly, I mean, on a lighter note, you're the country's first lady, and it's quite a full-time job. Just take the viewers through what you probably do on a day-to-day basis. You've mentioned, your work, your beautiful work, amazing work that you're doing with the foundation. Other than that, what does Thobeka do?
A typical day. It's faced with competing priorities, ranging from being the spouse of the president, as well as coupled with my humanitarian work, which is running the foundation, coupled with being the mother and the wife, and any other responsibility, responsibilities. But I think for me, it's what life throws at you, whereby you need to strike a balance and say, let everything move together and not let anything suffer. So basically, my typical day, as I outlined, it ranges from in the office everywhere, meetings, attending events, and embracing some of the work that is done by our sister organizations, because we work together as a collective in the cancer landscape, traveling, as well as a day in the office. But yeah, it's I think for me, just like anybody who wakes up in the morning, go and work, except the fact that it's fulfilling, because when you touch the lives of the ordinary people, it really is, it's more rewarding than a check at the end of the month.
Thobeka, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for letting us into your space. And there you have it, ANN7 viewers. The First Lady, Thobeka Madiba Zuma, wishing ANN7 and its viewers a happy 4 years anniversary. She also spoke about pertinent issues of, women empowerment as well. So from me, Natasha Piri and Patrick Hauser, that's a wrap from us. Back to you.